The last thing you expect when you're cataloging the slow, deliberate heat death of a forgotten star system is for a woman to fall out of the data stream itself, bleeding light and smelling of ozone and burnt sugar. But in the Great Library of Althazar, you learn to expect the unexpected. I just never thought it would happen to me. My name is Kael, and my world is one of quiet, ordered perfection. The library isn't made of books and paper. It's an infinite space woven from pure information, holding the complete, unchangeable record of every moment that has ever occurred. I am a junior archivist. My job is to tend to the dead timelines, the closed loops, the stories that have already been told. It's a peaceful existence, or it was. That day, I was immersed in the final moments of the Cerulean Empire, a civilization that had gracefully accepted its own extinction. The holographic display around me showed shimmering towers of crystal turning to dust, a silent, beautiful end. My fingers drifted over the console, annotating the decay patterns, when a flicker of static and impossibility caught my eye. A single pixel of data that didn't belong. I leaned closer, my heart thumping with a forbidden curiosity. The pixel expanded, tearing open like a wound in reality. And from that wound, she fell. She landed on the shimmering floor of my archive bay with a soft thud, a splash of impossible color in my monochrome world. Her hair was the chaotic red of a dying nebula. Her clothes were a patchwork of fabrics that shouldn't exist in the same millennium. And a deep gash on her arm wasn't bleeding blood, but raw, shimmering time. Tiny, fractured images of falling stars and laughing children spilling onto the floor. She looked up at me, her eyes the color of a stormy sea, and a jolt went through me, a shockwave of pure, unfiltered chaos. "Did it work?" she whispered, her voice raspy. "What's the temporal signature of this sector? Is it stable?" Before I could answer, an alarm I'd only ever read about in training manuals blared through the library, a sound like a crystal bell being shattered. "Paradox detected. Anomaly in Sector 7G, initiating purge protocol." Crystalline plates on the walls began to shift, reforming into sleek, sharp-angled constructs. The Axioms, the library's immune system. Their sole purpose was to find and erase anything that threatened the perfect order of the past. They were coming for her. She tried to stand, but faltered, clutching her arm as the paradox wound flared. Her eyes, wide with panic, met mine. "Please," she breathed. "Don't let them unwrite me." Every rule, every lesson, every fiber of my being screamed at me to step away, to let the system correct itself, to preserve the sanctity of the record. But as I looked at her, bleeding moments onto my perfectly ordered floor, I saw not an error to be corrected, but a story that hadn't been finished. And in a moment of pure, unadulterated madness, I did the one thing an archivist must never do. I interfered. "This way," I hissed, grabbing her other arm. "Quickly, before they triangulate our position." I pulled her from the light of the main corridor into the shadowed alcoves that held the corrupted data. The timelines so broken and contradictory they were sealed off. It was the last place the Axioms would expect anyone to hide. Her skin was warm, a startling contrast to the cool, sterile air of the library. As the glowing forms of the Axioms swept past our hiding place, I could feel her ragged breath against my neck. And I had the terrifying realization that my peaceful, predictable life was officially, irrevocably over. We huddled in the darkness, surrounded by the ghosts of broken histories. The glow of the Axioms faded down the corridor, their chimes receding into the vast silence. The woman beside me finally let out a shuddering breath. "That was close. Thank you." She looked at her arm, where the flow of fractured moments had slowed to a trickle. "I'm Sera, by the way." "Kael," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. I was still trying to process the sheer insanity of what I'd just done. Harboring a paradox. It was a career-ending, possibly existence-ending offense. "What are you? Where did you come from?" Sera pushed herself into a sitting position, her movements weary but efficient. "I'm a rift walker. Or I was, my people. We don't see time as a straight line like you archivists do. We see the whole tapestry, the potentials, the echoes, the might-have-beens. That's impossible," I stated, the dogma of my training taking over. The past is fixed. The future is unwritten and therefore unknowable. There are no potentials. A wry smile touched her lips. Your library is a monument to what was. My people live in the sea of what could be. But something is poisoning that sea, Kael. An event. A silence that's not just ending timelines, but erasing them completely. Wiping them from the record as if they never existed at all. The concept was so horrifying it felt like a physical blow. The library was absolute. To have a record erased from it, that wasn't just death. It was nullification. I was trying to stop it, she continued, her voice gaining intensity. I was tracking the source of the silence when I was ambushed, thrown sideways through a weak point. I didn't fall into your archive. I fell out of it. The alarm chimed again, closer this time. The Axioms were methodical. They would perform a sweep, and this time they would find us. We have to move, I said, my mind racing. The Axioms are relentless. They won't stop until the paradox, you, is resolved. Resolved? You mean deleted? She shot back, struggling to her feet. There has to be a way to fight them or hide. You can't fight the library's core programming, I explained, pulling her deeper into the maze of sealed archives. But there are legends, whispers of a place the Axioms can't touch. The unfound door. It's said to lead to the library's core control system, to the office of the first archivist himself. Sera's eyes lit up with a spark of hope. If we could get there, I could stabilize my temporal signature. Maybe even find a way back. It's a myth, Sera, a ghost story we tell junior archivists to keep them from snooping. No one has ever found it. Then we'll be the first, she said, her determination a force of nature. She looked at me, her stormy eyes searching mine. You believe in rules, Kael, in order. But you saved me. Why? I didn't have an answer. Not a logical one, anyway. I looked at the infinite, ordered corridors of my home, a place I had loved for its predictability, and for the first time it felt like a cage. Because, I said, the words feeling foreign and true at the same time. Some stories deserve to have an ending. Her smile was dazzling, a supernova in the dusty darkness of the sealed archives. All right, Kael the rule breaker. I like it. Lead the way. Let's go find a ghost story. As we moved, a single fractured image spilled from the wound on her arm and floated between us. A tiny, perfect hologram of two people laughing under a sky with twin suns. It hung in the air for a moment before dissolving. It was a memory of a world that, because of the silence, might not even exist anymore. And in that moment, her fight became mine. Our journey to the core was a nightmare of temporal hazards. We had to navigate the echoing halls where the library's powerful archives bled into one another. One moment, we were wading through the swampy battlefields of a forgotten reptilian war. The next, we were dodging asteroids in the silent vacuum of a system's birth. I had only ever observed these moments from the safety of my console. Living them, even as holographic echoes, was terrifying. Sera, however, was in her element. She moved through the chaos with an unnerving grace, her senses tuned to the ebb and flow of time itself. Careful, she'd whisper, pulling me back just as the ghost of a predator lunged where I'd been standing. That creature's past is still hungry. I, in turn, was her guide through the library's logic. The system architecture here is based on the seventh crystalline theorem, I'd explain, pointing to the patterns in the walls. It means the exit will always be at a 90-degree angle to the point of entry, but only on a prime-numbered minute. We wait 30 seconds, then go left. We were a walking paradox ourselves. Her chaos, my order. Her intuition, my knowledge. We argued constantly. You think too much! She'd complain as I tried to calculate the probability of an echo cascade. You just need to feel the flow. Feeling the flow is what gets you stabbed by a spectral legionnaire, I'd retort. There are patterns, rules. But in the quiet moments, huddled behind a projection of a collapsing mountain range as an Axiom patrol glided past, we learned from each other. She told me of her home, a city that floated on the currents of time, where buildings changed with the mood of their occupants and the future was a landscape you could visit. It sounded like beautiful, terrifying madness. I told her about the quiet satisfaction of a perfectly preserved record. The profound beauty in knowing a story, from its first word to its last and protecting its integrity. She listened, and for the first time, someone didn't look at me like my life was boring. She looked at me as if I was the guardian of something precious. "It must be lonely," she said softly one time, her gaze distant. "To know all the stories but never be a part of one." Her words hit me harder than any spectral legionnaire. She was right. The Axioms were getting smarter. They weren't just patrolling anymore. They were adapting. They began setting logical traps, altering the library's architecture to loop us back on ourselves, trying to corner us with pure, inescapable reason. We were trapped in a corridor where the exit kept receding every time we approached it. A classic Zeno's paradox construct. "It's no good," I gasped, leaning against a wall that felt sickeningly fluid. "The logic is flawless. We can't reach it." Sera closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. "Then we stopped playing by its rules." She took my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "When I fell into your archive, I didn't just bring myself. I brought a piece of the rift with me. A bit of chaos. Your library is all about cause and effect, right? One thing following another. The fundamental principle of linear time, yes," I said, watching the exit shimmer and move further away. "Well," she grinned, a wild, dangerous light in her eyes. "What happens if the effect comes first?" She squeezed my hand and pulled me forward, not toward the exit, but running straight at the wall beside it. It was suicide. A logical impossibility. "Sera, no!" I shouted. But just as we were about to hit, the corridor twisted. The exit we were running from suddenly appeared directly in front of us. We tumbled through it, landing in a heap on the other side as the corridor behind us snapped back into its original impossible configuration. I stared at her, breathing heavily. She had forced the solution to happen, and reality had bent itself to create a cause. "You broke time," I whispered in awe. "I nudged it," she corrected, a little breathlessly herself. "Your turn now, Logic Man." "Where to?" I looked around. The architecture here was different, ancient. The light was softer, the air hummed with a power that felt primal. Carved into the floor was a single elegant symbol, the personal seal of the first archivist. "We're close," I said, a thrill running through me that was equal parts terror and exhilaration. I think the ghost story might be real after all. The unfound door wasn't a door. It was a riddle written in the language of the library's core code, wrapping around a monolithic data spire that pulsed with a soft golden light. What has a billion stories but no voice, holds all of time but has no age, and can only be opened by the one thing it cannot contain? I read aloud. Sera circled the spire, her hand trailing against its surface. "It's a trick question." "Of course it's a trick question," I said, running diagnostic patterns in my head. "The answer has to be a command code, a logical key." "No," she interrupted, stopping in front of me. "It's not about logic. Think about it, Kael. What's the one thing this place, this perfect ordered record of the past, can't account for?" I looked from the riddle to her stormy, intense eyes, and suddenly I understood. The library contained facts, history, what had happened. It could simulate, it could project, but it could not create. It could not hope. It could not make a choice that wasn't already recorded. "A possibility," I breathed. "A new choice, exactly," she said. "It can't be opened by a key from the past. It has to be opened by an act of the future." As she spoke, the chimes of the Axioms echoed behind us, growing louder, closer. A new tone had joined them, a deep, resonant hum that vibrated in my bones. "That's Metron," I said, my blood running cold. "The prime axiom, the first one. He guards the core." The monolithic spire in front of us remained sealed. The army of constructs was closing in. We were out of time. "An act of the future," Sera murmured, her eyes darting around. Then she looked at me, and her expression was one of terrible resolve. She reached out and placed her palm flat against the spire. "The library's purpose is to preserve what was. My purpose is to protect what could be." Golden light flared from her hand, but the door remained shut. "It's not working," she grunted, pushing harder. Metron appeared at the end of the hall, a towering figure of crystalline geometry, beautiful and terrifying. Its voice was not a sound, but a projection of pure logic into our minds. "The paradox will be corrected. The timeline will be pruned. Order will be restored." "Kael," Sera said, her voice strained. It needs a choice. A real one. A sacrifice, she was right. The riddle wasn't just about a potential future. It was about the cost of creating one. A choice that changes things forever. And in that moment, looking at the approaching form of Metron, I knew what I had to do. I stepped up beside her and placed my hand on the spire next to hers. "The library is my home," I said, my voice steady. "I have dedicated my life to preserving the past. But you've shown me that a story isn't just about the ending. It's about the living of it." I turned to her. "But a future without its past is just chaos. It needs an anchor." I accessed my own archivist codex, the core of my identity within the library's system, and I found the command for permanent data transfer, a function used to merge a corrupted file with a stable one, erasing the original in the process. I was going to write myself into the door's code, become a part of the system. A permanent choice. "Kael, no!" Sera cried, realizing what I was doing. "You'll be trapped! Just a line of code." "It's the only way," I said, meeting her desperate gaze. "It's a choice the library can't contain. Me, choosing you." I initiated the command. Energy surged from my hand, intertwining with hers. The riddle on the spire began to glow, the code rewriting itself. Behind us, Metron raised its arm, a blade of pure energy forming at its tip. "Cease. This action is illogical." The door didn't open. Instead, the entire spire dissolved into light, revealing not a control room, but a single, shimmering throne. Seated on it was a man who looked ancient and young at the same time, his form flickering like a faulty hologram. The first archivist. He was wired into the throne, his eyes closed. He wasn't the library's master. He was its prisoner, its battery. He was the anchor. He had made the same choice long ago, sacrificing himself to give the library its power, its order. The silence wasn't an attack from outside. It was the library's own protocol. When a timeline became too chaotic, too full of potential, it would drain more power from the anchor to contain it. The erasings were the system trying to conserve energy. It wasn't evil. It was dying. "It's a feedback loop," Sera whispered in horror. "The more it tries to enforce order, the more power it consumes, the more timelines it has to erase to survive. The paradox is the final variable," Metron's voice boomed as it advanced on us. "Its removal will restore balance. It won't restore anything," I shouted back. "It will just accelerate the end." Metron paused. "Irrelevant. Order must be preserved." "No." Sera stepped in front of me, her hands glowing with rift energy. "The answer isn't more order. It's not another anchor, another prisoner to the past. The answer is to let it live. Let it change." She turned to me, and the look in her eyes was the fiercest, most beautiful thing I had ever seen. "You were willing to be my past, Kael. Let me be your future." And then she kissed me. It wasn't a soft, gentle thing. It was a collision. It was the Big Bang in miniature. All of her chaotic, unpredictable Riftwalker energy slammed into my ordered, logical archivist's soul. The wound on her arm burst open, not with fractured moments, but with a tidal wave of pure potential, of unwritten futures, of stories that had never been told. And it all poured into me. My mind, which had only ever known the straight, clean lines of history, was flooded with the swirling, beautiful, terrifying sea of what could be. I saw cities of light built on impossible geometries. I saw starships powered by song. I saw 1,000 different versions of us, living 1,000 different lives, and the library saw it too. The connection I had opened to its core, the one I had intended to use for my own sacrifice, became a conduit. All of that raw, untamed future poured into the heart of the machine. The Axioms, including Metron, froze in place, their crystalline forms flickering as they tried to process the infinite, illogical data. The first archivist on the throne stirred, a single tear of light rolling down his cheek before his form dissolved into dust, his long vigil finally over. The throne room, the entire library, shuddered, not with destruction but with rebirth. The golden light turned into a rainbow of iridescent colors. The straight corridors began to curve in elegant, impossible ways. The archives of the past remained, but new wings began to grow, wings made not of fixed data, but of shimmering, fluid potential. When the light subsided, Sera and I stood in the center of a new reality. She pulled back, her breath mingling with mine. "Did it work?" she whispered. echoing her first words to me. I looked at my hands. I could still feel the echoes of a billion unwritten stories flowing through me. I could feel the library, not as a machine, but as a living, breathing entity, full of wonder and fear and hope. I think, I said, a slow smile spreading across my face, we just gave it a soul. We weren't prisoners. We weren't hunted. We stood in the heart of our creation, a place of perfect balance. The past and the future, order and chaos living together. The chimes of the Axioms started again, but the sound was different now. It wasn't an alarm. It was a symphony. Metron floated towards us. Its sharp angles softened. It bowed. New directive received. Preserve the potential. Archive the future. Sera leaned her head on my shoulder. So what now, partner? We have a whole library of maybes and what-ifs to explore. I looked at her. At the woman who had fallen out of a dead history and into my life. The woman who had shattered my perfect, ordered world and rebuilt it into something infinitely more beautiful. The chase was over, but the adventure, our story, was just beginning. I think, I said, taking her hand, it's time we wrote one of our own. The story of Kael and Sera, the archivist and the rift walker, became a quiet legend in the new library, a place that now welcomed the curious and the dreamers. We became its guardians, not as prisoners, but as partners. My knowledge of the past kept us grounded, while her vision of the future pushed us forward. We spent our days charting the seas of possibility, exploring timelines that were being born instead of cataloging those that had died. We walked in cities that sang and sailed on ships of thought. It was a life beyond anything I could have ever imagined, locked away in my quiet corner of what was. We proved that the most powerful force in the universe isn't order or chaos, but the balance you find between them. It's the choice to hold on to someone's hand when they fall into your life, to break a few rules for a story that deserves to be finished, and that's a story worth preserving. If you agree and you want to hear more tales from the Infinite Archives, do me a favor. Hit that like button, leave a comment telling us about a choice that changed your world, and subscribe for more adventures. After all, a new story is always just one click away.